It's been nearly 2 hours since we came to, finding ourselves with no memory of the past week and no idea how we got here safely. We're not even sure what city we're in. We were able to find some guns and fight off a few waves of the undead, but despite a massive effort, it's clear that there are just too many. Even if we somehow manage to avoid getting beaten down, we'll eventually run out of ammunition. On top of that, our body aches all over. Our helmet protected our head well enough, but we're covered with bruises and scratches, and the pain is really going to slow us down. We're not badly injured, but we hardly feel up to fending off another wave. Luckily, that cigarette gave us some time to think, and we might have a better plan. We start by collecting our things and hauling them into the storage room. We hesitate only briefly before going through the zombies' pockets. A week ago, we wouldn't have dreamed of touching a dead body, let alone putrid ones like these, but we're past caring. We're splattered with gore up to our knees. We've had their hands and teeth all over us, and we can feel droplets of their blood in our face and hair. Rifling through their pockets and backpacks isn't going to make things any worse at this point, and if there's even a slim chance that they have something that'll help us survive, we'll have to take it. We dump a bunch of stuff out of our rifle case and coat pockets. Our brain feels like it's running a mile a minute, looking for any advantage it can come up with. We've mostly just been finding junk food, but there were these multivitamins. We dry swallow a handful of them, hoping they'll shore up our diet of chips and candy. We plug the nutritional info into the diet app on our phone, mostly out of habit. So because we have a smartphone, we can automatically track our vitamin and calorie intake. Most junk food decreases your lifestyle score, and being a smoker greatly exacerbates that. But we can at least partially offset it by getting our recommended daily vitamins. Hitting 100% on each of these adds a small bonus for the day. Frequent exercise and a full night's sleep will also boost our lifestyle score, so we should at least be able to break even if we're careful. Lifestyle increases the rate at which wounds heal during sleep. It gives us more short-term stamina and also allows us to do more work before we get weary. It also helps prevent illness and resist infection. So it's something you really want to try to keep on top of, and if it starts dipping into the red, it can cause a lot of problems. We return to the bodies and get back to looting. The zombie with the magnum appeared to have a bug-out bag on him. There's a big book of first aid in here, which is a great find, as we don't know anything about medicine. We also grabbed some food, water, and medical supplies. There's even a multi-tool. This is a little knife, a saw, a screwdriver, and a pair of pliers. It's not very good at doing any of these things, but it's small enough that we can just keep it on us and it'll help us out in a lot of situations. As we pick through the bodies, we keep track of the zombies out in the promenade. They appear to have forgotten about us for now and are investigating some sound off in the other direction. It's good to know they have short memories. We find a vape, which isn't really our style, but it'll do the trick in a pinch. We also get some snacks and a pack of nicotine gum. This marker here indicates that cigarettes are unhealthy, and that'll affect our lifestyle. But if we look at the gum, it doesn't have that. The nicotine gum is also easier to use on the go than cigarettes and doesn't create any light or smoke, which means that mechanically speaking, it's just a superior option. We can use it when we're sneaking around, but it also means that we don't have to smoke as often, so that'll be a little bit healthier. These are just some party supplies. We can't think of a use for these at the moment, but there was a time when we would have paid good money for this kind of thing, so we'll just hold on to them. There's a book about winemaking here. The red name tells us that it's a skill book. We also find a laptop computer, which is a pretty big deal. We'll take a closer look at that in a second. We get some more snacks and a couple of batteries and haul it all back to the storage room. So most of the zombies have indeed wandered off. At the edge of the light, we can see a lot of debris just past the planters. It looks like maybe one of the zombies started banging on the RV that was parked over there, and the noise attracted the others, who joined in on the mindless destruction. Taking advantage of the distraction, we ease the door to the front of the shop open and sneak back out. There's probably still some useful stuff out here. Our bear trap is still out here, stuck to the dead zombie's leg. We pry it loose and put it in our bag. We can also check out this zombie cop's gear. He was wearing a tack vest. Last time we noted that reloading a shotgun can be slow because you have to retrieve each shell. Well, this vest is one way to solve that. It's got these little loops here that only hold shells and similar objects, and the base time to retrieve one of these items is 1/4 of a second. This lets you reload your shotgun in just over 1 second, which should be great, but unfortunately the zombies have been putrefying in these clothes, and they're not really something we want to wear. On this broken shelf, we find a utility vest, the kind of thing you'd wear for going hunting. It's pretty similar to the ones we were just looking at. It doesn't have the shell loops, but it still offers a lot of easily accessible pocket space, so we're just going to throw that on. The pockets on this vest are a base 80 moves to retrieve an item. On our trench coat, that's true of the outer pockets, but the inner pockets are 120 moves. If we look at our rifle case, it's actually 200. And because these move costs are all compounded by any speed losses from pain or other effects, if you're carrying things you're going to need to grab in combat, like sidearms or magazines, you want to try to keep them in the most accessible place you can. Any little edge you can squeeze out could save your life down the road. The vest fits on the strapped layer, which means it doesn't conflict with any of our clothing, and it only adds 1 encumbrance when it's empty, so this is going to be really useful. In the dark, down one of the ruined aisles, one of the dead turns toward us and starts shambling closer. It doesn't look like it can see us, but it does know we're here. We're still in too much pain to fight effectively, so we're going to hurry into the back with our new acquisitions. The chair scrapes along the floor as we drag it with us. It makes quite a bit of noise, but it doesn't seem quite loud enough to attract attention. We stick it in the storage room and close the door, then plop down for a rest. If we take out this laptop, we can activate it and light up the screen. This gives us 1 tile of light, which we can use for working or reading. We can get several hours of light this way on a single battery. We start slotting in the SD cards we've been finding on the zombies. This first one has 9 songs and instructions for making an improvised grenade launcher round. If we had a grenade launcher, that might be nice. We also get a recipe for a primitive bow dampening kit. We're pretty sure we have a proper kit already, so we won't need it, but it's there if we do. And there's nothing on the third card. Oh well, we'll just have to keep an eye out. By the light of our screen, we flip through each of our books to see what's on them. It turns out these will teach us tailoring, food handling, survival, and shotguns to 1 rank, and healthcare up to 3. They also have a few crafting recipes, so it's good that we got our hands on these. Now that we have some light and a little time to relax, we can look ourselves over. We're not too injured, and we've got band-aids on all our wounds, so we should actually heal up fairly quickly. We're also sitting in a chair, which contributes to our healing rate quite a bit. If we had something softer like a bed or a sofa, we'd be doing even better. The big book of first aid seems like the most useful one in our situation. If we get seriously hurt here, there's not going to be anyone around to help us. Unfortunately, the writing is pretty complex. We're having a hard time getting through it because we're so distracted by our pain. But there's really nothing for it but to grit our teeth and try to focus. We spend about 3 hours reading, and finally the pain subsides. So we're gonna have a smoke and some chocolate. And then we're gonna put in our earbuds and turn on our MP3 player. So all of these things are going to raise our morale, and that's gonna have an effect on our focus. And our learning rate is directly derived from our focus. As we finish our smoke, we reach down and grab our butcher knife. It's not much of a weapon, but it's the weapon we have, so we're gonna have to make it work. We step out to the front of the shop, our sharp eyes scanning the darkness for movement. There, in the corner, we can make out a silhouette. We approach until the zombie notices us, and then we start to head for the back. We hop over our barricade and take up a position behind it. The zombie predictably follows, and we quickly stab it right in the neck. We give it a second stab before it can get over to us. Now we're behind the counter, the monster hot on our heels. Its grasping hands find us in the dark and its teeth bite into our side, but we're in a frenzy now, stabbing over and over. The music pounds in our skull as we approach the front of the store. From here, we can see the RV and the zombies banging on it like rioters in a news van. Four of the undead start moving toward us, and we have to be careful not to trip on anything as we rush into the back again. This looks like it might get messy, but we're feeling confident as the adrenaline surges. We get 2 stabs in right before the first zombie can get her hands on us. Realizing that we'll be overrun if we stay here, we break away and hurry back behind the counter. As she approaches again, we bring our blade down with several overhand stabs, splattering warm blood all over the place. It's tempting to try to stand our ground, but the other zombies closed in, and so we need to weave around the store to split them up. We finish the bleeding undead off and glance behind us, making sure nothing's approaching. The creature throws itself over the display case, and we start wildly jabbing with our knife. It gets a bite in, but finally it goes down too. There's only one more here in the back with us, but more are coming. As we move away from the door, we realize that one of the shapes is much smaller than the others. This was a child. We duck behind the counter, survival instincts winning out over pity. We stab the first zombie until it stops, but the other two are right behind it. Our blade bites into rotting flesh as they tumble over the counter, and all we can do is lash out at them until they both drop. Guilt washes over us as we stare down at the zombie child. It's not like we hurt an actual kid, but seeing it up close really drives home how messed up this all is. We turn off the music. It seems disrespectful. We make sure these bodies won't be getting back up, going over their belongings as we do. There's a flashlight and some solder. That's something, at least. The pain from our injuries is just past the point where we can ignore it, so we hurry over and close the door, then finish off the last zombie. We pace back and forth, eating some candy as we think things over. Now, we can't go out there. The promenade is wide open. It's half lit by sunlight, and any noise is going to draw the dead in from all over the mall. This place is 2 stories, and they're not shy about just tumbling over the balcony to get down to us. We catch the attention of what seems like the last zombie in our store and lure it into the back. We stab and back off. It grabs us as we repeatedly stab it, biting into the fleshy part of our hand, but we kill it before it can break the skin. So this zombie cop, we already checked this, but he actually has a heavy-duty flashlight, and that's better than our current one. We're going to take the battery out and ditch it for the heavy-duty version. Is there anything else out here that we want? Knife Fighter's Notes. That's actually one of the first things we noticed when we came to. It's a book about blade fighting, so we'll grab it. We glance over to make sure that the zombie out front isn't coming in, and then we're going to open the side doors here. The sight of concrete is reassuring. It means that those doors probably connect to the employee-only hallway that we've seen before. And if we can get out there from this side, that could be a way to safely move around. This back room has some items packed up in it. There's a survival kit box, which has a pocket survival guide, some water purification tablets. There's a folding knife here, but that's actually not as good as our butcher knife, so we're going to leave it. We'll also grab these flares, the glow stick, and this whistle multi-tool is interesting. This is a cheap gadget combining a whistle, thermometer, magnifying glass, and compass. Mostly, we're interested in the thermometer and whistle. So we grab it, and we can now see that it's 15 degrees Celsius in here. That's 59 Fahrenheit for my fellow Americans. There's also a small leg purse in a box here. A small purse that can be worn on the upper leg using buckled straps, easier to use than on the arm, for those who want to wear a dress without pockets while carrying their phone and money. Use it to adjust it to fit on your arm. Okay, so we can wear that, and if we check, our leg encumbrance is still just fine because this only adds 1. So it's another quick pocket that'll help us collect loot. We've also got a cast iron frying pan here. We'll grab it just in case we figure out how to cook anything. If we had a claw hammer or a crowbar, we could get this crate open, but we don't, so we'll leave it for now. We're going to be grabbing some clothes, anything that's made out of cotton, and we're going to cut them up. We'll just cut up everything. Okay, so this gets us... Alright, we weren't looking for canvas, but that's fine. It did get us a bunch of cotton. If we need to, we can use these for bandages. Feeling a little better now. Our pain is down to moderate, so we're ready to keep going. We drop our rifle case and head through the metal doors. There's a zombie waiting for us in the back hallways. We're going to bait it up into the shop. We miss all 3 of our stabs and the zombie gets its hands on us, clawing at our leg. We manage to break away and run into the other side of the shop. Much better. We stab it until it's bleeding out, then move away. The zombie's dead, but we're feeling a bit worse for the wear. We're not mortally wounded or anything, but our cuts and bruises have gotten to the point where they would be inhibiting our movement even if we weren't in pain. So our left arm and leg are at 3 bars each. If we look at them, we can see that this negatively affects our limb scores here. Limb scores are pretty complicated. There are a lot of them and they affect way too many things to list here. Instead, we'll just use common sense. If our body is injured, we're going to be less effective at pretty much everything, and these compound with both our overall speed modifiers and our stat debuffs. So whenever possible, it's really important to back off before you're so messed up that you can't even defend yourself. 3 bars is kind of on the cusp of the danger zone, so we'll try to avoid fighting until we've had some rest. looks like there's a break room back here, and if we move the other direction... Okay, this is perfect. So these back hallways are made of brick, and the doors are all metal except for this one. So this whole place is pretty secure as long as nothing can come through there. We decide to move our things into this break room here. It should make a much safer hideout than the shop, and it'll let us explore the mall without having to worry about the open central areas. We're going to grab all of our stuff out of the storage room, and we're going to start dragging it toward the back here. Each step takes over a minute as we try to get this huge stack of guns and supplies. And we've got to keep an eye out because the entrance is wide open. A zombie interrupts us during all of this, so we're going to repeat the familiar process of baiting him into the back. As he approaches, we lash out with our knife, instinctively holding it underhand this time. Immediately, we realize that we've been doing it all wrong. If we keep the knife farther in front of us and pivot our body away, we have much more time to defend against attacks, and we don't have to commit so hard when we go into a stab. We finally have 1 rank in melee, which will immediately boost our accuracy and blocking ability, and it's also going to unlock the brawling martial art. We switch to that immediately. This is really good news. The zombie gets a few hits in, but we finish it off quickly and get back to our move. We're also going to grab this armchair. This is more comfortable than the basic chairs we've been seeing, and will actually heal faster if we sit or sleep in it. Looks like we didn't quite get away with it. Attracted by the sound of our moving furniture, another zombie approaches, cornering us in the back room. We lead it over to the table and it gets tangled up in the furniture. A few quick stabs and it's dead. We'll just stick the body over here. set our chair over here by the lockers, and maybe we'll make a little hangout spot. We grab a section of table and we drag it over here. Having a table or other flat surface to work on increases our crafting speed by up to 10%, and it'll also give us a small mood buff whenever we eat here. Okay, so let's just make sure we get everything out of the little back room. Actually, here's an idea. So these display racks. If we open up the Advanced Inventory Manager, we can see that the floor has a 1,000 liter storage capacity. The racks are actually 1,750 liters. So they're not just furniture, they actually hold more stuff than just the bare floor. We grab one of the shelves and start moving it. It's quite loud scraping across the concrete floor, and we can hear zombies reacting to the noise on the other side of the wall here, but they can't get to us. These lockers only hold 500 liters, so we're going to move them out of the way here. It's hard work pushing these heavy lockers around. We're battered and bruised, and the strain is actually causing us more pain, but if we get this done now, then we won't have to deal with it later. There's a big cardboard box here. If we hid inside of this, nothing would be able to see us unless it was directly adjacent. And if we wanted to, we could fold it up, carry it around, and deploy it anywhere. The zombies are able to track us without seeing us, so it wouldn't help for too long against them, but we'll just try to remember it's here if we need it. We could also sleep in it, but it's less comfortable than the armchair. We take a short break, then finish hauling up the rest of the display racks and cleaning the place up. Okay, so this is driving me insane. We're going to open the Distractions Manager and disable noise interruptions. This will stop us from seeing these pop-ups every 5 seconds. The place is so noisy with all the zombies everywhere that there's really no reason to pay attention to sounds. Once we've got a row of racks set up, we'll get rid of our old sorting zones and add new ones. This time we're going to do all of them. We pick out spots for all of our things on the shelves. We're going to put food and drink on a nearby shelf and medicine in the farther one. That way, if we're sitting in the chair and we go to eat something, we won't accidentally consume any hazardous substances when we're trying to mow down on a bag of chips. Once we've got a spot picked out for everything, we spend about 20 minutes sorting it all. So now we have everything neatly sorted on the racks behind us. We can sit comfortably in our chair, and we have this table for work and eating. We might still just be hiding in the back of an overrun mall, but getting this tiny bit of control over our environment makes us feel a lot better. Now we can start thinking about our next move. We're going to light up the screen on our laptop, and then we're going to have a look at our practice actions. Because we got 1 rank in melee, we can now train it up to 3. However, this requires a bokken, cudgel, or quarterstaff. We don't have the fabrication skill to make those. We can go ahead and make a makeshift crowbar by bashing one end of our pipe flat. That'll increase our fabrication to 1. We're just going to see what else we can make here. Okay, we'll take some of these cotton patches we found by cutting up the clothes, and we'll make a shoulder strap. We can use this to carry our shotgun around. If we get a plank, we can practice our fabrication with the carving action. We take our crowbar and screwdriver and we begin taking apart the spare furniture. The table gives us planks, a wooden panel, and nails, and the locker gives us sheet metal, pipes, a lock, and a key. We really don't have plans for most of this stuff, but having the raw materials on hand will make our life a lot easier if we need them. Back in our armchair, we practice carving with our planks. We want to figure out how to make a good cudgel, something lightweight, but long enough for us to block attacks with. We'll also slap some band-aids on our injuries. They're not much, but the difference between an untreated wound and even a poorly treated one is huge. A restless feeling starts to come over us as we work on carving our cudgel. Most of the time when we want a cigarette, it's in our mouth before we're even conscious of the craving. But we've been so distracted that we've been putting it off, and now we're starting to feel like you do when you don't get enough sleep. Every little thing becomes 100 times more frustrating and we can't focus on our project. We're going to go ahead and have a nicotine gum. We chew aggressively, only barely feeling the mouth tingles, and in the last second we realize we've shaved the wood down too thin in the middle. Disgusted, we snap it in half and toss it aside. We're gonna have to start over. We have a piece of chocolate and some mineral water which helps calm us down, and then we start again. So now our fabrication is at 3, which is nice. That'll help us avoid future mistakes when we make these. After about an hour, we finish our cudgel. This is a fantastic defensive weapon. It's got high blocking ability, which adds +6 to our block rolls. It's also very fast and accurate, and once we have 3 melee, it'll stun whenever we get a critical hit. Combined with Brawling's feint ability, this means we'll do so much better on the action economy versus most single enemies that they'll just be stun locked and unable to fight back. There are a few downsides. It's not super durable since it's just a piece of wood, and it also doesn't do very much damage. It doesn't cause any bleeding either, and we've seen how useful bleeding can be. It also won't do much good if we get surrounded, because we won't be able to stun lock a whole crowd of zombies, and it doesn't kill them fast enough to get us to safety. But the especially important thing about it is that now we can practice our melee skill. We light up our laptop screen and start doing practice swings, trying to get a feel for the weight of the weapon. It's easy to just swing it wildly, but if we move with intention, we find that we can direct it pretty precisely, and by keeping our stance wide, we can readily shift our weight to swat away enemy attacks or push them back with a jab. It's past midnight when we're done. Our diet tracker reminds us to take our vitamins, so we swallow a few and sit back in our chair. We now have 3 melee skill, which is solidly mediocre. Zombies are obviously very unskilled, so we'll be able to block 1 attack per second pretty frequently. This is pretty huge since we still don't have any armor, but it'll all fall apart if we get surrounded, so we have to be careful. We put our things away and step over to the vending machine, which is still running and full of drinks. We insert one of our stolen cash cards and treat ourselves to a bottle of cranberry juice. The last couple of hours have done a lot for our confidence. We woke up this morning with no idea where we were, totally surrounded and in a seemingly hopeless situation. Now we have safe shelter, a comfortable place to sleep, a respectable arsenal, and the knowledge that if we're smart and careful, we can fight back. We hold on tight to the glimmer of hope that we've managed to grasp, because there are some very troubling thoughts behind it. If this mall is totally overrun, what does that mean for the town? Is it like this everywhere? It can't be, right? Worse, we don't actually know where we are, or even how we got here. The zombies should have torn us apart, right? But there wasn't a scratch on us when we woke up. We have no idea where any of our friends are. Our mom got on one of those FEMA buses a couple of weeks ago, thank God. But we don't know what shelter they took her to. And now the power's out and there's just no reception whatsoever on any of the cell phones we found. That can't be good, right? The last and most terrible thoughts come as we drift off to sleep, curled up in our armchair. The face of the zombie child, and the fear that we might turn.